press conference.
Добрый день, я рада приветствовать.
Good day. I'm happy to welcome our esteemed guests, participants in the conference today. I welcome our colleagues, journalists who are here at the platform of Press Center of the International Media Center of Russia today. Also, of those who are watching the live broadcasting of our press conference from our press conference on our social media, and also at the site of Academic Forum BRICS today, where we're hosting participants of the BRICS Forum that has been held in Moscow since from 22nd to 24th of May under the motto "New Pieces on the World Chessboard." This year, the number of the countries participants in the forum has doubled. As part of the academic forum, topical matters were discussed of trade, economic cooperation, matters of food and energy security, science and education, technology and innovations, improvement of financial system, and our guests, esteemed guests, will speak well of this. We'll be summing up the results of the academic forum, which is still underway. Most importantly, we'll learn what other recommendations of the academic forum of BRICS will be passed on via Sherpa and Sherpa channels to the leaders of the BRICS countries for the summit in Kazan to be held October 22nd, 24th. So our guests, head of the expert council of BRICS Russia, Vice-Rector of the Russian High School of Economics, Sherpa Russia in the top 20, Viktoria PANOVA. Viktoria Vladimirovna, welcome you. Of course, Viktoria Vladimirovna represents Russia, General Secretary of Russian Council on Cooperation of Analytical Centers of BRICS, Zheng Singh, representing China. Well, welcome you here. Next to me is Honorable Researcher of the Observe Research Foundation, Nandan UNNIKRISHNAN from India. We're happy to see you here at our platform. I also welcome the Executive Director of the Institute of Foreign Affairs, Jafar BEDRU GELETU, representing Ethiopia. Thank you for joining us today. And I also am happy to welcome Deputy General Director and Director for Asian Studies of the Institute of Political International Studies, Alireza GOLIPUR, representing Iran. In your person, Mr. GOLIPUR, I would like to express our deep condolences to the whole Iranian people because of the death of the President Demirasi. So we're getting on with our conversations. Vladimir, over to you. Russia is chairman, so it's a hosting country. Oksana, thank you very much. Thank you for holding this press conference today. I think it's very important that we could, even though it's not a complete makeup of participants, and I would like to note too that actually at this forum there were not only BRICS countries, but it drew so much attention that there was a demand, and we got a lot of requests from different countries that applied for BRICS, also from representatives from countries that are not friendly to Russia, and so everybody had a very constructive attitude. Today, the day before yesterday, we've talked with our colleagues. So there's a lot of interest in hearing our speakers and taking part in our discussions. Indeed, there was a very serious outcome in terms of really trying to get across to the world in the presence of participants and also in the presence of people who are watching the forum from other countries, who are following the forum, what is the agenda of BRICS. And maybe I will briefly outline what we talked about. The most important, I think, as was mentioned already, is that last night we adopted, coordinated the final points of the principles of our final document, which actually will be passed on as recommendations to the leaders of countries. We are very much hopeful that, as always, it's a consensus-based document. It was preceded by heated discussions and debates. On the one hand, we understand that BRICS is it's about the opinion of the like-minded people. On the other hand, we are well aware that each country has its own set of interests and its own approaches to dealing with international issues. But thanks to the common basic principles that actually unite our countries, we were able to arrive at a consensual document, a consensus-based document, which will set out a few initiatives by way of official track. Another important outcome of this event, we talked about this as part of the session of the expert centers, but today during the wrapping up of the conference, we'll be talking about the preliminary report on the index of the activities of the BRICS. Let me remind you that decision on conducting such monitoring and its main methodology, which of course is going to be improved going forward, that decision was adopted last year and in 2020 during the year of the previous Russia's chairmanship. And so this year, Russia's expert council, we prepared the first version of this document, which we have mailed out to all our colleagues in BRICS. And so accordingly, our work at the academic forum is ongoing. If anything, it's going to be even more intensive, because until the BRICS summit, we should be able to offer the full report based on the full statistics of all the BRICS countries that will reflect the opinions of the entire BRICS community, to show with figures and facts why BRICS actually exists, what BRICS actually, how it benefited the member countries, how it is going to benefit new member countries, how we're going to go to act going forward. So it's a very important document, which I hope will be a regular document, because we are prepared to put on efforts of our experts here, and also which will serve as a basis for further definition of the destination of BRICS. So it's a good way to demonstrate to the entire world, objective demonstration, because we're relying on the international data, on the objective evidence. And if it's a case of national statistics, it's based on a particular methodology that can be verified and corroborated. So we will be in a good position to discuss with our opponents who are trying to prove that BRICS is not actually necessary. So we are showing how the countries have been developing. One of the first shared indexes, I won't go into details here because, as I mentioned, our colleagues still have yet to complement those figures on their part. But still, we've seen already that the BRICS countries have been growing compared to the world international trends faster and with a better quality. It's something that has been shown with figures and graphs. And we are seeing that even against the backdrop of the complicated geopolitical situation, confrontation, our countries, our states are continuing to demonstrate good, confident economic growth and development. As important is, on the whole, we had more than 100 indices that demonstrated more than 100 indicators. We've gone over about half of these now in a preliminary way. But this has shown too already what kind of spheres that BRICS have developed more. That's to do with our officially adopted documents, the way we worked under the strategy of economic partnership of BRICS. We know that next year we are to adopt a third strategy, take into account the membership of new countries. So it's really important to assess and evaluate how we should proceed further, what kind of parameters, economic, financial, will be important. There was a lot of discussions at the forum itself, and also as part of the Council of Expert Centers during those sessions, with regard to the technological development, with regard to being able to build some common shared platforms. Though lots of questions arise from the adoption of last year. Remember on the instructions of the foreign ministers in Johannesburg to work through matters of financial interaction, the payment tools. Of course, those are matters that take a long time to develop, and there's still a lot of work to do. So it's a challenging, sovereign aspect of things, but it's still necessary, and everybody has agreed to use more in terms of economic exchanges, to make greater use of national currencies, to do more work to overcome the trade barriers that still exist, particularly due to the World Trade Organization, which is not so active because of our American colleagues. So there's a lot of discussion on that too. As important was the matter of energy transition. We checked our clocks, synchronized our clocks in terms of how countries see, take into account, of course, national features and interests, how we can proceed further in order to be able to help each other and to develop our economies in accordance with the parameters we have. Similarly, matters of climate and much more. Maybe I'll stop here. I'll be happy to make more comments later. But of course, we would like to hear our colleagues from other countries, other BRIC countries, who can share their impressions regarding the event we are holding now and which way BRICS is going. Thank you. Thank you, Viktoria Vladimirovna. Unfortunately, our table is not so great to feature all the representatives of the BRICS countries. On the right of Viktoria PANOVA, the representatives, let's say the old wing of BRICS countries, the founding countries of this association, of this group. So of course they're in good position to speak of how the countries have benefited from. So I would like to hear your impressions of academic forum. What are the matters, recommendations you? Maybe let's start off with our esteemed Chinese guest, Mr. Zin Singh. Over to you, please.
I'm very glad to be here. I lead a big delegation, more than 10 scholars from China, think tanks and universities come here to exchange views with our old members and new members, colleagues. And we achieved a lot. BRICS is an important platform for cooperation among emerging markets and developing countries. BRICS carries forward the spirit of openness, inclusiveness, and women cooperation, and committed to seeking development through cooperation and marching towards the future in solidarity. It is even more positive, stable, and constructive role forces in international arena. Entering the era of greater BRICS cooperation, the increase of the numbers of members, it means that BRICS need to think about how to achieve 5 + 5 = 1. and then realize 5 plus 5 is greater than 10. Yes, that is to say, we need to strengthen internal coordination, amplify collective synergy. Maybe we should speak with same voice in international arena. This year's academic forum held in Moscow give us deep impression. It's well organized. The academic forum has made important contribution to this end, not only providing an inclusive platform for exchange between old and new members, but also conducting policy-oriented thinking for deepening our cooperation, especially not only academic, it's policy-oriented. We have harvested a lot of consensus, just mentioned by our Russian colleagues, Viktoria. It's really fruitful international conference. So we highly appreciate our Russian friends' efforts. And to Chinese side, we will, as always, support you, support your all agendas this year. I think I just to say something. Okay.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you very much. I do thank you, Mr. Tansi. Mr. UNNIKRISHNAN, you often visit Russia. You've been interacting with Russian experts for a long time. Of course, we'd like to hear your opinion, too, of the academic forum of BRICS. Also, maybe you could tell us what are the topics, issues that interest Indian experts, what kind of proposals maybe you brought to Moscow. Over to you.
To Russia today for inviting us. I think Viktoria PANOVA has summarized the essence of what we were doing for the past 2 days very, very well. And I would like to add that, of course, it was a pleasure to meet our new members and to find that they have become part of the BRICS family very, very quickly and as an integral part. I don't feel at all as if they are new members. They were active participants in our discussions. They voiced their opinions with confidence. So I'm glad that we have these new members who add diversity and richness to the organization. I think I agree also with my Chinese colleague that because we have new members and there is a greater diversity, there is the need to understand each other a little better because all of us have different economic challenges. All of us probably have different political visions for our countries. So we do need to, as my Chinese colleague suggested, have more intensive interaction so that we can coordinate and find the commonalities that we have, economic, political, and set the agenda for the future directions of BRICS based on these commonalities. I mean, I agree completely with Madam Panova that we are different countries, so there are bound to be a certain level of differences. They can't disappear. But BRICS has always been able to work on consensus, to work towards arriving at positive understandings that gives this organization greater impetus. And of course, the proof of that is the fact that A, we have new members, and there is a long list of other countries who want to join BRICS. They see value in this. They see value in BRICS as a platform, which India continues to see as a platform on which their concerns, their interests are reflected at the global stage. Today, BRICS is a leading world organization, a leading world body, but it is obviously not the dominant body yet. So there is a long way to go. As I said earlier during the negotiations in BRICS, I hope BRICS is not forever, because if BRICS is forever, then that means we don't reach our goals. And I hope that we reach our goals very, very quickly. So with these words, I will leave comments to my other colleagues.
Спасибо большое, господин Унникришнан. Другая дорожка.
Thank you very much, Mr. Unnikrishnan. Now I'd like to bring in new participants in the BRICS movement to hear their opinions, how the discussion is proceeding as part of the academic forum, and what are expectations for this group. Let's start off with Ethiopia representatives. Peter GELETU, over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity here in Russia. Thank you, Dr. PANOVA, for very organized BTTC meeting. It was very gracious that they have received us with all protocols, and the organization was well prepared and well coordinated. I thank the organizing committee for that. So Ethiopia has joined BRICS in starting January the 1st of this year. So there have been different meetings that Ethiopia has been participated. In the BTTC conference, it's for the first time that Ethiopian thinkers and researchers and research institutes have participated. We have 7 people delegated from Ethiopia, from different sectors, institutes. We have participated in the panel discussions. Ideas have exchanged with different countries from BRICS and outside of BRICS. It was a learning experience for us as new members, as we navigate through how the BRICS operates, and as we learn how decisions are made, consensuses are created, how the discussions are conducted. So it was a good experience for us. It is helping us integrate well into the BRICS complex forums and ways of doing things, and making consensuses realized. So we have participated on a debate that prepared a recommendation for the leadership, the heads of states meeting, the summit in Kazan. We have discussed and proposed very transformative ideas that would change the situation of the BRICS as a collective, as a multilateral platform to discuss and debate and come up with solutions to the pressing issues of the world that we face in the present days. So we have come up with ideas related to reforming the global system, which is the fundamental idea that BRICS grouping has been working on. We have seen economic programs. We have suggested, presented recommendations, and social programs, technological exchanges, economic programs. So there are so many issues that we have suggested and recommended to the leaders. These suggestions are not only academic, but as our Chinese colleague has stated, they are policy oriented. So they're practicable, that they will change and transform not only BRICS as a multilateral platform, but they are beneficial to member states. New and old member state would benefit from the implementation of the recommendations that BRICS experts have debated for months now and presented for the implementation and adoption for the leaders. For me, just to say, as first participating in one of the BRICS forums and discussions in the BTTC, the think tank conference, is that the most significant contribution of the BRICS in the international politics is it brings new ways of doing building consensuses. It's a new culture of debating based on the principles of equality and respecting the other side's ideas. Whether you could be a very small country, you could be a very big country in terms of geography, like Russia, or population, like China and India. That's a very significant thing. As you can see, Ethiopia and Iran, comparatively speaking, are very small countries compared to the global size stature of these big countries. But we have been debating on equal basis. Our ideas were respected as ideas, and we built consensus based on this spirit of equality and respect of the other. So this is a good way. It shows you the kind of world that the BRICS imagines to bring on the international stage. So we're building a good culture of dialogue and consensus making. So it's a good tradition in the international system, whereby it used to be that your relative power depends on your hard power and military force and economic size, you know. So we're trying to change that kind of mentality and culture, tradition in the international politics, and countries would be treated as equals, you know, and fairly and with justice and respect of their opposite sides. The other contribution of the BRICS I see is it doesn't focus on governments and states. It focuses on dialogue between people and people. That's the most significant contribution of BRICS. I think that's my impression coming out of, you know, we're concluding our meetings in Moscow, that the BRICS is not only for the states, it's not for the head of states and the diplomats in different member states, but it's about people, the academicians, the media people, there are cultural exchanges. That these kinds of things create much broader understanding and respect for one another, and working towards mutually beneficial arrangements and institutions. So it was good that our experience was very fruitful, and it has helped us as new members to integrate well into the BRICS collective, and I hope we get the full support as we try to integrate into the BRICS system. We call upon our seniors and all members to support us in our endeavors to adapt to and integrate into the BRICS system. Thank you.
We're not seniors, we're equals.
Yeah.
Ну, а я с удовольствием... подключу.
And I'm pleased to bring into conversation our Iranian guest, GOLIPUR. What BRICS, how BRICS benefited your country, Iran? What are expectations from this organization? Maybe you have some recommendations to make how to improve on the BRICS work.
First of all, let me thank you for your sincere sympathy for the loss we tolerated recently. And then I have to thank our Russian colleagues, dear host, for the very well-organized and well-thought coordination of these three-day forum, which was very fruitful for us. As a new member, I found all discussions during the forum and informal exchanges in the sidelines of the forum very fruitful for us. In fact, many members of the BRICS have been traditional partners of Iran, so we have been working with them very closely. But what BRICS added value for us and other members, I believe that it is a platform for to strike a balance between geopolitics and geoeconomy, which is very important in this very fastly changing world. I believe that in such a world, some kind of coalitions, smaller coalitions, are getting more weight and importance, and platforms like BRICS can play a very important role to bolster the interests of the members. So in this 3 days, we were trying to have a kind of brainstorming meetings to help some ideas be born and to have some recommendations for the summits and our decision-making system in our own countries. As was rightly mentioned, I believe that despite all differences, there are among BRICS member states, and the perceptual gaps which is still there. We need to have these kind of discussions more, especially, as I said, the importance of informal exchanges in the context of these economic forum is very fruitful for the members to reach to the point that their interests are being protected and their challenges are being pursued by in a collective way. So based on this, we had 4 main proposals for this very esteemed forum. And the first proposal was to boost and deepen business and financial cooperation to boost economic growth of all members. Second, expand political and security cooperation to uphold peace and tranquility for all members and in the global level. 3, to increase people-to-people exchanges and promote cultural learning between civilizations and members, to advocate peaceful coexistence and harmony between nations. And 4, to uphold fairness and justice, to improve global governance, and to reach to true multilateralism, where all states in this changing world to be treated fairly and in equality and with fairness. So I believe that this is very important regarding the common interests and common challenges we are all facing, and it is this kind of cooperation can bring us to the point that we can treat all our challenges and threats in a collective way and to reach to a better result.
Спасибо большое, господин Голипур. Считается, что чем
Thank you very much, Mr. GOLIPUR. It's believed that the greater an organization, the more participants, the more difficult it is to achieve consensus. In BRICS, all decisions are made through consensus, but as they say, truth is born through disputes and debates. What are the main points of disputes and debates among participants of forum? What are the issues? Yes, it's a well-known fact, but what you just mentioned. But on the other hand, I think we always had heated discussions, and even if when there were 5 hours or twice as many, there's always a room for discussions. On the one hand, we are very diverse. It was, as was appropriately mentioned just now. On the other hand, it gives us maybe more time to arrive at a shared common result. But on the other hand, another special feature of BRICS at the forum itself and just now, as our colleagues have been speaking about the common principles of BRICS, among those principles are ability to hear, to listen, and to hear. This is the quality which unfortunately is characteristic of very few groups or organizations that exist today in the world. But for BRICS, it's important. It's one of the basic functions, one of the basic principles. So basically, we could start having a discussion or debate about the points that maybe not particularly controversial, but there are always nuances that might be important for some in terms of national approaches, which could be maybe in the area of high technology, how to go about maybe matters of development and exchange of knowledge, information, and experience in this particular area. And it's clear, as I mentioned, that it's still a challenging issue is a matter of developing financial economic system, how BRICS is going to operate under such a system. Also, it's very topical. We've talked about this a long time, and there were some developments, but there's still no overarching conceptual approach in terms of values, value orientation of BRICS. It's something I think we need to discuss as the BRICS expands, because each country comes with its own history, with its own visions, and so it's important to take this into account. So this also provides its ground for debates, discussions, so that we could move towards the future, which could be based on consensus, which could be interesting for all of us. It may sound fairly theoretical or abstract, but it's a really important aspect in terms of when it comes to discussing very specific points and matters. So this is also an area where we had discussions and debates, and we're going to do more work here, and I'm sure we'll be able to find some commonalities and common denominators that will be helpful for our work. Clearly, there still remain challenging matters of approaching to peace and security, and here too maybe there was not so much disagreements as deciding what matters should be concerned, should be discussed in terms of maybe combating terrorism or matters of cybersecurity. Of course, those are matters that are important for national sovereignty and national security of each of our respective countries. And considering this one of our basic principles, the principle of sovereignty, these are also serious issues that need discussion, continual discussion. Of course, I could go on talking about this, but maybe we could listen to what our colleagues found particularly important in this context. One more point that maybe I should make is that it's not so much academic, abstract discussions that we've been having. It's more like political recommendations. because indeed, as part of Russia's chairmanship, we had 256 events in our official calendar. That's not counting BRICS now is very trendy. The number of institutes, a number of people who would like to be associated, and so the number of all such people and entities has increased dramatically. So we have lots of events. For instance, a bit later on, maybe towards the end of this month, we'll have the Forum of the Academy of Sciences. That will feature more academic maybe aspects of things. In our case, maybe it was a bit confusing for some. Academic forum, it's academic, but it's not about academic discussions only. It's more about developing political recommendations. Even though it's important, it remains academic, though. Well, it came forward as visionary back in a few years ago, as it was held by Vyacheslav Nikonov, one of the chief ideologues of BRICS in our country. We have a person present here who was at that meeting, and the summit itself actually was held later next year. So that's important. So we continue to be in this visionary format. So it's important for us to have discussions, to disagree, because what we're doing, we're in the business of shaping a future, and this future should be comfortable for all of us. So it's clear that if each of us takes close to heart the future of our countries, the future of the world, the fact that we have discussions and arguments, it means there are no indifferent members of among the BRIC countries. We all care. We want to agree on the future and to build it. Thank you very much. Maybe let me make this issue more specific before I give the floor to our guests. You mentioned developing a financial economic system, the topic of common currency, facilitating payments, payment systems. Were those topics discussed? Because the sanctions against Russia, against Iran that had been imposed by the West, they are in the way, interfering with the trade between our countries. So any of the countries among BRICS members is in danger of coming under secondary sanctions. I mentioned earlier on that those topics were in the agenda. Those are challenging matters. We all agree that those issues couldn't be resolved overnight or very quickly. Nobody is talking about, I often hear, but some people claim, people apparently not particularly familiar with BRICS discussions. We're not talking about creating a single currency of BRICS, no. It's more maybe about being able to setting up a mechanism or some preconditions for a system of trade with the use of national currencies, which would make it possible to conduct a barrier-free trade so that the big brother would not be in a position to control us or control where our money, which way our money moves, and also so that there would be no opportunity to use illegitimate one-sided sanctions. We're probably ahead of everyone now in terms of the number of sanctions that had been imposed against us. We know that in terms of the current increasing confrontation, such sanctions, illegitimate sanctions, are applied as part of the economic fight against economic struggle against China, and each of us, we are aware that we stand to suffer from this, and so it's important here, without promoting BRICS is not about confrontation. No, we're not saying that we are opposing anybody. We're not opposing anybody. Somebody may not like us, but that doesn't mean that we are against anybody. We have countries here that cooperate really well with Western states. So we're not aiming confrontation, but we need to ensure our economic development. It's a challenging path. As I mentioned, there was a discussion of financial system. There was discussion of possible tools and mechanisms. We'll continue this. We have no magical pill here that would be able to resolve this issue. But of course, as part of the Council of Expert Centers, we'll definitely have a whole sector in our expert council who are dealing with this set of issues. And I think that even in terms of preparing such monitoring, will be in parallel with officials will be continue our conversations with relevant experts from BRICS countries about which way to move, in which direction, in order to ensure a sovereign economic development, barrier-free trade, that which would not be impeded by other countries, and financial exchange. Thank you, Viktoria Vladimirovna. I'm giving the floor to Mr. Tin. Yes, please, your opinion.
So I would like to speak in Chinese. I have an interpreter. Yeah.
Микрофон, пожалуйста, дай китайскому переводчику.
刚才我们这个参加。
This year's academic forum, I agree with all of you that the final text of the recommendations to our BRICS leaders is rich in content. It covers many areas, including our suggestions on areas like finance, economy, trade, people-to-people exchanges, and political security. They are very indeed rich in content.
关于刚才主持人问到的我们学术界也确实谈了，是否要建立金砖国家共同的支付系统。当然，在这个问题上，大家有共识，也有不同点。有共识，大家都觉得呢，金砖国家应该有自己的支付系统，但是否是一个单一支付系统，需要深入研究。
And our host just asked about the common payment system. Actually, our academic circle of the BRICS countries have had extensive discussion on this issue. We have our common understandings, but we also have our differences. One thing is that we want to have our own payment system, but we do not want it to be a single payment system.
之所以大家考虑这么个问题，主要是。 大家看到了这几年呢，有些国家呀，把经贸问题政治化，把交易系统武器化，不利于国际间的正常贸易，所以我们不得不思考，金砖国家包括我们和其他发展国家如何开展正常贸易，不受相关国家制裁和长臂管辖。
The reason why we are considering this is because that in these years, some countries are politicizing normal economic trade and weaponizing the trade system, which will surely undermine the normal trade between countries. So we are considering and thinking about not only among BRICS countries, but also between other developing countries, how can we ensure normal trade without the impact of the illegal sanctions and long-arm jurisdictions of other countries.
之所以思考这么一个问题，是我们不得不这么做，因为相关国家的做法已经妨碍了正常的国际贸易。
The reason why we are considering and thinking about this issue is because we have to as some countries' actions has already impeded the normal trade.
至于说这个支付系统如何建，我们还要继续的深入研究我想领导人层面也会探讨这样的问题。
As for how to build up such a payment system, I believe further research is needed, and our leaders will also discuss this issue.
当然了，学术界还有很多看法，譬如说金砖将来会不会有一个共同货币我想这些作为学术可以讨论，但如果变成政策现实，恐怕还有一段时间要做。这有赖于金砖国家合作的一体化的深入。
Of course, our academic circle also have many other issues like is it possible for us to have a common currency? I believe it is good to have such an academic discussion on such issues, but for it to become a policy and a reality, that we still need a long way to go. That depends on the further integration and the further discussion of our agenda.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое, господин Унникришнан. Ваше мнение интересно? Пожалуйста.
Thank you very much, Ms.
I'd like to say that, we of course have our differences and we have passionately argued about a variety of subjects. Without going into detail about it, the point, however, is that these discussions give us a better understanding about the core concerns of our partners. We begin to understand what the red lines are for our partners, and it makes it easier for us, even at a bilateral level, to build a relationship that takes into account the concerns and the primary concerns that our partners have. That is one particular part of it. So we have an understanding of the problems that our partners are facing. At the same time, we also recognize that we are not the only friends of our partners. Our partners have many other friends. And so therefore, they will have a diverse relationship and a diverse approach to some of the problems that we are seeing. So we have to try and find a commonality. Today, there is certain issue that creates a particular commonality, and that is the whole fact of how sanctions are impeding international trade. They are trying to send them in a particular direction. We are working and discussing how to overcome it because, I can speak on behalf of India. India is interested in maintaining its relationship with all the countries that it trades with, irrespective of whether there are sanctions or not, because India is trading with these countries out of its own interests. It is not because someone ordered India to trade that we started trading. We did it because we want to trade, and we will continue to pursue our national interest in this particular direction. But what is unique about BRICS is the fact that we are able to sit at the table and discuss issues where we have predetermined different approaches, but yet we do it without acrimony. We express our views in a polite manner, if that is the right way to say it, even if we are passionate about it. And our partners understand where we are coming from. So they are equally understanding in their responses. So it does not become, a public spat. It is an attempt at trying to find, despite deep differences, what are the common issues on which we can work. And in that context, as both my Russian and Chinese colleagues have said, there is a lot of work to be done. And I'm sure our academic colleagues in my country as well as in their countries are looking at all these issues very deeply and looking at it with a positive mindset, not to avoid this problem, but at a positive outset of how to find a way around this problem that benefits all the members of BRICS. And I'm quite confident that already we can see some of the results. The trade in national currencies has gone up between all members. But I'm sure that we will find a better and a more long-term solution to this very soon. The other point I would like to make is that the very existence of BRICS is to show that this kind of world where a more dominant power can try and dictate what it should be doing is sort of contradictory to the very existence of BRICS. BRICS is precisely for a more equitable world. It is precisely for a more inclusive world. And by our common reaction to some of these measures which are undertaken by others, I think we are explaining and showing the world as a whole that BRICS is actually quite an attractive platform and has the capacity to try and give its own contribution to making this world more equal.
Спасибо большое, но нельзя не согласиться с тезисом о том, что вас...
Пожалуйста, в другую дорожку.
Нельзя...
We need to agree with the statement that national interests drive national policy. Now, new members of the BRICS are already engaged in discussion. Maybe you would express your opinion too.
Thank you so much. Already the others have already described most of our debates, the ideas, the agendas that we have raised and discussed. As you know, there are many agendas. It's the very idea of BRICS includes so many issues. It's not like it's an organization organized for some specific security agendas, some political agendas, some economic. It touches everything. That's one of the advantages of the BRICS, that it's everything is discussed and argued on. So there are many agendas. Of course, there are also new and old friends in the BRICS, many countries. So it's inevitable there are going to be a lot of differences when the debates are being conducted. So inevitable ideas will be raised and they will be debated. What I would say is it doesn't matter. The differences are not the key, I think. What I would say is the kind of new culture, that new diplomatic culture, new multilateralism that we see in BRICS is the key that we should take from this process. That different countries from different perspectives, from who has different interests, they come together, they raise, as our Indian colleague has raised, they have different partners of their own, so they bring to the table and they debate and discuss and they try to come up with a solution. You can see the process bringing about compromises, finding new ways of, innovative ways of resolving differences. That is a kind of thing that would help the current situation in the international politics, that this old way of resolving issues with pressures, sanctions and impositions, based on, depending on your relative power that you impose, you push, you pressure countries into accepting and into towing the line of these big countries and their interests. But in BRICS, what we are building and practicing and realizing is the idea of that debating on equal footing. The big and the small, they have their own differences, they have their own perspectives, their own interests, ideas. They are respected and argued on. And then the collective BRICS could come up with a good, amicable solution that works for each member of the collective. So that's the most important thing that BRICS would bring to the international politics as an alternative, as a new vision of international politics and multilateralism that does not depend on hard power imposition kind of old fashioned diplomacy. So coming to the sanctions, the sanctions, as we have seen it, it's unilateral. It might not, it's not working precisely because the BRICS is strong, and there are alternative sources of power. We're living in a world of multipolarity. We have different middle powers and small powers that have a new way of doing things rather than toying to these big powers and following their diktats. So it's a very excellent example of the working, and it shows us an indication of the coming age that the kind of diplomacy and international politics that we envision in the BRICS is working, that it is workable, that it can create a new kind of world order. So it's not the agendas, it's the kind of new diplomacy and politics in the international stage that we are trying to achieve here. That matters. Yeah. Thank you.
Спасибо большое. Итак, господин Голипур, вам слово.
Thank you very much, Mr. GOLIPUR. Over to you. One of your main statements was actually about business and financial cooperation.
Of course, so many issues were raised. I totally agree with most of them. I assume one of the most important features of BRICS is connectivity, not only physical connectivity, but only mental, spiritual connectivity. It's a kind of synergy to exchange ideas and experiences on the best practices of the members of BRICS. One of the most important problems and challenges some of us are facing now is, as you mentioned, is sanctions and weaponization of the economic tools. But with rising awareness in the world among different nations, it seems that it is not going to continue like this. Human being is like a river, is a dynamic entity. When it's blocked in its own natural way, it will find a new way. If it is not possible, it will make a new path for its way. So we are suffering. Some of us are more than others, but most of us are suffering from these sanctions. And what is bothering here mostly is the self-professed superiority of the West. The moral high ground they are assuming for themselves to judge others, to decide about others. So we are trying to find our ways. We have been under these kind of sanctions during the last 4 decades. We have found so many ways to bypass these sanctions. If it is not possible collectively, we have done it by our own. But here we have so many common challenges we can share our experiences in this field. And I feel that this is very important to go ahead and even think inclusively and to try to avoid excluding oriented policies and approaches towards others. So flexibility is very important in this kind of forums, and I hope that in the future we can have even more inclusivity and more commonality and more understanding among all member states.
Спасибо. У нас в зале присутствует.
Thank you. We have representatives of the media in our room. So, colleagues from the media, I don't see any raised hands. Apparently, we've covered the ground so well, and we've covered. Would you like to ask a question? All right. Introduce yourself. Alexander Kriptov, the Journal of Industry and Eurasia. I understand that your brainstorming that was taking place over the last 2 days is going to be a big contribution towards the BRICS summit in Kazan to be held later. So the question in this connection, were there any proposals maybe aiming at deeper integration of these groups, maybe after the pattern of Eurasian Union or some other association, and basically under current conditions, maybe working out some alternative ways of interaction, which maybe would be a good idea to convey to the public. Who would like to take this one? Maybe I will start. It seems to me BRICS is a different kind of format. So it does not imply a kind of integration that maybe as a Eurasian Economic Union implies, or any other regional integration association. It's not an organization, essentially. As we know, as a historian of international relations, as a political scholar who has been dealing with such themes for a long time, more than 20 years, we have this term club mechanism. So the essence of this, it's an association of informal leaders. Even though it has developed to a point, apparently, I would say BRICS is unique in this regard. Of course, there's the G20, G7, but unlike those associations, BRICS has been much faster in spreading, in covering all areas of interaction, in spreading to all layers and strata of society. So this fact, not a bureaucratic component, not formalization of this mechanism that made it for being more flexible, being more inclusive, and able to have multilateral interaction that our partners spoke of. But still, we were speaking of not so much of the format you described, but maybe more about opening up or discovering new spheres, maybe platform-based solutions where we could promote our joint research and studies, where we could come forward with new solutions. We have already a fairly well-functioning platform of energy studies under BRICS, for instance. We were saying that it would be important to set up a similar kind of form of interaction in the area of climate. Also, we have a kind of mechanism that enables us to synchronize our clocks in agricultural development of our countries. We were talking about the need to deepen such interaction, maybe introducing new forms. We have fairly active network, BRICS University. We were speaking about the possibility of further deepening of educational and scholarly interaction with the new members already included. It's important for us not to come forward not so much with a number of new initiatives. It's not just about quantity. The solutions we adopt, they are not just to be announced and forgotten. They need to bring results. So we're talking about implementation of the projects and solutions that we agreed on. So for us, it's really important, and this year is a key one. And of course, it's not going to stop this year. It's important for us to integrate all new members into all those numerous formats, both official and informal, and the second track formats that we have, so that it would be really mutually beneficial. Not just that the BRICS can benefit somebody or somebody can benefit BRICS. It's a two-way path, two-way road about how we integrate as new members get on board and entering into all the programs that we have for our common good and development. Maybe our colleagues would like to mention some other initiatives. So if you're willing to.
它和欧盟东盟甚至拉共体它是不太相同的，因为金砖国家它不是来自于共同的一个地域它来自于我们一个共同的政治身份，我们都是来自 emerging market and developing countries 所以如果从经济意义上的一体化。 我想还需要很长的路走，因为我们跨越了不同的州不同的大陆。
The question you just raised is also one important question the academic community of BRICS are thinking about, because BRICS is not for the integration of BRICS. We are not like other organizations like the European Union, ASEAN, or even the Latin America community. We're different from them because they are more or less from the same region, but we are from different regions, but we have this common political identity. That is, we are all emerging markets and developing countries. So for the economic integration of our BRICS, we still need a long way to go because we cover different regions and different continents.
但是呢，我们可以共同开发我们的这个大市场，共同分享我们10个国家的这个大市场，来找到我们优势互补的领域，这样可以最大发挥我们10个国家的各自的潜能，来实现共同发展。譬如说，这边有很多互补的。 在能源领域，这个像俄罗斯包括新的成员国沙特等等，在能源领域很丰富，而中国和印度我们需要能源这就是很好的互补。同样，像俄罗斯是重要的粮食出口国、生产国，但是我们非洲很多朋友非洲国家它需要粮食，我想这就是很好的互补我们要找到我们哪些领域互补的领域，把各自的潜能更好的发挥出来。 把我们共同市场蛋糕能够做大。
And having said that, we BRICS countries can jointly develop our large market and share the opportunities of our large market within our 10 countries. We can find the areas where we have complementary advantages and maximize our development potential. For instance, on the energy sector, our BRICS members like BRICS and Saudi Arabia have abundant energy resources, while China and India needs that. That is one complementary advantage for us. And also, Russia is a very large producer and exporter of food, and our African food friends need food the most. So that is another aspect of complementary advantages. That is what I want to say. We can leverage our complementary advantages and tap into our development potential and make the pie of our large market development bigger.
当然了。 一体化的进程是一个很漫长的进程即使像欧盟现在一体化，其实它也遇到很多问题但是一体化的方向，我觉得人类是需要探索的。对于金砖来说，当下我们需要做的是否可以思考，我们10个成员国我们如何因为新的5个成员加入进来之后，我们如何使金砖的合作更有效率？是不是要思考要成立类似秘书处这样的机构？来 推动我们的一些领导人层面达成共识，能够把它落地落实，甚至还有一个评估机构，这样我想通过各个层面的这个落实机制，来使我们军队的合作更加有效率。
So for the integration process, we still think it's a long process. Even for the European Union, it faces many new problems in its own integration. But for the direction of integration, I think we should further explore it. For instance, after the accession of 5 new members for our now BRICS family with 10 countries, we should consider how to make the BRICS cooperation more effective and more efficient. Should we consider setting up a secretariat to better implement the decisions and common understandings reached by our BRICS leaders? And should we consider the assessing mechanism? That is all I want to say. Maybe we can think about the implementation mechanism to better make our cooperation effective and efficient.
上个月就5月份普京总统对中国成功进行了国事访问，双方领导人两国达成了一个内容非常丰富的长达上万字的联合声明，声明里也特别强调要加强在联合国、金砖和上合等多边和区域合作组织的协同合作，来共同推动世界朝着平等有序的全球化、多极化和这个包容、普惠的全球化方向来发展。
Just in May, President Putin made a visit to China, and the Chinese and Russian leaders reached a very extensive and very rich contented joint statement with over 10,000 characters. In the statement, it was mentioned that the two countries should strengthen coordination in multilateral and regional organizations such as the United Nations, BRICS, and Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And jointly, the two countries can work to promote the more effective, more equitable, and more orderly multipolarity and a more inclusive world globalization that is beneficial to all.
现在世界上总体上呢，存在一种不好的倾向，那就是出现了经济合作碎片化的倾向。而像金砖这样的类似的经济组织，应该从更高层面上，除了推动我们自身的经济合作一体化进程之外，更重要的，我觉得还要从代表发展中国家声音来推动经济全球化，整个人类的经济全球化往前面去迈进，往普惠平衡的方向去迈进。
There is a bad momentum or a bad phenomenon generally in the whole world today. That is the fragmentation of economic cooperation. So for BRICS, for us, I think, except for our own development, we should also consider the collective interests of developing countries. We should consider the general development of a more equitable and inclusive economic globalization.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Спасибо вам. У нас осталось не так много времени, но если...
Thank you. We don't have much time, but if you're willing, you could make short comments. Could I add something? I think I'll mention a few more initiatives. I need to mention that we overall agreed to work on developing a roadmap as part of the Council Expert Centers in order to formulate the principles and common understanding of just and equitable development, which we could present to our leaders maybe by next year. So we need to make an effort to come up with such a substantive roadmap. As important is interaction in the area of digital economy. We remember that last year there was a launch of the research group on artificial intelligence. So we talked about developing new modalities of the work of this group, perhaps even launching some pilot project. or working through such a pilot project maybe by next year. The third track is humanitarian interaction, very important for us. Among others, we talked about developing, promoting digital education, how we could approach such joint mechanisms of cooperation in promoting this area. Also developing and what would be up to national standards and up to national priorities. It's important too because we all have our issues and our directives. Remember last year, decision was made by the ministers of education. A decision was made to launch a rating system. And so it's important for us, for all of us, universities, research institutes of the BRICS countries would come forward as leaders in international education, so that it would be objective fact. Of course, there are ratings with a bit of a twist in terms of the interests, a bit biased in terms of the interests of the promoters, such as QS from the West. But it's important for us to be able to rate ourselves too, and that's what the index of the BRICS operation was launched for. Important aspect is interaction in the sphere of travel and tourism. We had some decisions developed there in official track too. So we continue to. So with the new accession of new members, this matter still arose. New proposals. Let me mention what we had. We continue to insist that we need a BRICS map for easier exchange, to make the travel easier for our business people, for our experts and researchers. It's really important. That's beside making it logistics easier, maybe more direct flights. For example, the registry of unique geographical locations, cultural heritage of the BRICS countries, which we could jointly start compiling, which would make it possible to raise the interest of all population and international population, particularly young people, in terms of visiting our countries. So if I were to continue, I think we would never get done until. I have two small questions which we received from the Journal of International Review. Asked whether the question of whether matters of culture or interaction in culture were discussed. Well, for one thing, from the start, we were talking about the need for cultural exchanges. So it's like an umbrella fact. In our introduction, in our preface, we talked about the need for cultural exchange. Even before that, in our recommendations, we spoke of the exchanges in terms of films, best publications, maybe holding joint festivals. Some events already being held. So it's important for having full on-board process for new members in terms of such initiatives. But let me say that I think we'll give more time to this subject, and we'll do so as part of the civic track. We have a separate working group who are dealing with the matters of culture, with the matters of sport and travel of BRICS. Yes, thank you. Another question from Gennady Fishman. Whether there'll be any changes in Iran's position with regard to BRICS after the death of the Iran's president? Would you comment on this, whether Iran's position will change after the death of the president with regard to BRICS? Да, это большая потеря для нашей страны, но она не поведет к изменению в нашей политике. которая основана на Конституции, и у нас будут новые выборы.
And then the new president will come and the new team, but it is not going to lead to a profound change in our foreign policy.
Собственно, мы в этом и не сомневались.
We had no doubt about this, but we still needed to pass this question. So now I have to let our guests go to the events of the academic forum. So the work is continues. So lots of matters to discuss. Thank you for participation and for talking with Russian journalists and speaking of your vision of BRICS future and sharing your recommendations, which will be presented to the leaders of the states at the Kazan summit. Thank you very much. Moscow is welcoming you with lots of sunshine and nice weather. All the best to you. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you again.